If you're an insurance agent that wants to know one lead to never, and I mean never buy for final expense telesales, well, you found the right video. I'm going to save you money. I'm going to save you pain by putting this content out here today. And I've been asked this question so many times from viewers, from agencies that have joined my national insurance agency here at jasonfinalexpense.com. And agents have found very quickly that the advice that they were given from some past face-to-face agencies turned to be caustic. The lead cost was extremely costly. And I want to break this to you so that you don't break your bank and get beat up in an industry that already chews up and spits out 90% of the agent force for a plethora of reasons. But a lot of times it's because you didn't find this information out as soon as you should have. So I want to save you some money here, and I want to talk about a direct mail lead. Believe it or not, the direct mail lead is a great lead for the face-to-face insurance agent, and I'm going to give you multiple reasons why you don't want to waste your money on them when you're doing final expense telesales. So first off, tip number one, when you're dealing with a direct mail lead, you've got to understand that that lead is sent back to you, and it's a postcard. I've got many of them, and as a face-to-face insurance agent, it's the gold standard, always has been, and it's just a great foundation if you're a face-to-face insurance agent because you need tight geography. But the gotcha here is if you're in final expense telesales, you're not pounding pavement. So when that lead comes back to you and it says, "Do not call me," go to someplace that isn't heaven. When you get that lead and it's blank, you can't really do anything with that lead because you got no phone number. And unless you're willing to go pound pavement, that lead is pretty worthless to you as a final expense telesales agent. And so many insurance agents get taken for a ride because you're told to use direct mail leads for final expense telesales. That lead is stinking expensive. Save your money, save heartache in this industry by never paying for these leads. It's not the right choice when you're in final expense telesales, and so many insurance agents end up taking the bait. They get bit. They buy direct mail leads for final expense telesales, and you're going to pay high 30s for a final expense direct mail telesales lead, if that's what you're using it for. But a direct mail lead is designed for the face-to-face insurance agent. It is not a good choice. You're going to feel like you got when you're buying a per thousand direct mail lead and you're realizing that the returns, because how a direct mail lead works is they blast them out in a per thousand, lots of blasts of these direct mail leads, these mailers, these insurance leads that are being mailed out to all these prospects. And then sometimes you realize you're only getting 1, 2, 5 leads back, and you spent $600. Your lead cost, your cost per acquisition is horrible. It's horrendous. So when you're trying to buy final expense insurance leads in the telespace, the last thing you need to do is take a ride by ingesting bad advice. Be careful of face-to-face insurance agencies that are just now trying to find their place in the telespace. It's so important to vet your trainer and to vet your agency. I know an agent that worked in another agency and my goodness, spent over $20,000 on direct mail leads. And the upline was like, well, you just need to buy more leads. It's not your script, just buy more leads. Like, what? All right. And they were using this free Frankenstein scripts out there. And they were finding that direct mail leads were extremely expensive for your cost per acquisition. And that can sometimes cost you your career by ingesting bad advice. So direct mail leads are great. They're great. They're the gold standard when you're a face-to-face insurance agent, but you will be frustrated by the high cost of the lead, the uncontrolled time frame of you dropping your mail, and then you find out, oh my goodness, I got this tiny little minute return, and you wonder why you can't gain traction in this industry. When you're doing final expense telesales, you need volume of lead flow. Just like if you're running a McDonald's, you got to have a regular delivery of buns and burgers. It's got to keep flowing in. In insurance sales, when you're in the telespace, you're doing high-end script work. You know what to say, but if you don't have any leads, it doesn't matter. So understand, a direct mail lead, horrendously expensive. The leads come back where let's say your lead cost was $30 to $40 a piece, but half of them came back with no phone numbers. Now your lead cost just jumped to 60, $70 per lead. Horrible, horrible, horrible advice when you're trying to do final expense telesales. Do not buy direct mail leads for final expense telesales. I've been asked this question by so many agents across this last year and across this nation. They call me and ask, hey, I'm being told to use direct mail leads for telesales. And I'm like, wow, don't take that advice. Any person that says buy direct mail leads for final expense telesales, let me share with you, they are a face-to-face insurance agency at their core. And if you want to capitalize, it's important that you have good relationships, but it's important that you have the right leads. If you have the right leads, you're going to be on the right track, because if you can get the cost per acquisition at a third of the cost of a direct mail lead, don't you think that'd help you take it to the next level? In final expense telesales, you want a lead where every phone number works or has the best chance of every phone number working. It's going to help you make the wealth. So do not be overpaying for direct mail leads. Direct mail leads used to have a return of anywhere from 2.5% to 3% back in the day. Well, those days are done. And that's why you don't want to use direct mail leads for final expense telesales, because the returns on your per thousand are less than 1% in most zip codes, sometimes pathetically less. And that puts you in the poorhouse when you're taking really bad advice and buying direct mail leads for final expense telesales. First off, direct mail leads take a lot of time to get back to you. When you blast these leads out, you're not in control of when those returns come in. Dear goodness, I had a direct mail lead campaign that I dropped some mail on over 3 years ago. You know, I got a direct mail lead returned to me from a sweet 80-plus-year-old final expense prospect 2 weeks ago. Can you believe that? That returned back to me 3 years later, one lead. Crazy. So understand, if you want to capitalize with final expense telesales, do not take bad advice. Guard your pocketbook. Guard where you put your lead orders into. It's so important that you're very intentional in vetting your trainer. Make sure that you partner with an agency like mine at jasonfinalexpense.com, where I recruit and coach. And I'm so blessed to partner with some of the most powerful insurance agents across this nation doing final expense telesales, annuity sales, and Medicare sales. It's so important that you've got the power of us and you don't get taken for a ride. The last thing you want to do is drop a couple grand on leads and then find out you've only got, what, 20 leads returned to you? My goodness, that's like riding the world's smallest carousel. You're going to get dizzy. You're going to puke. You put way more money out than you should, and you wonder why you're not gaining traction and taking it to the next level. So be very careful of buying any lead that is not a vetted lead, but also be careful partnering it with insurance agencies that don't really have a backbone in final expense telesales. It can take you for a ride. You can end up taking some bad advice in, and it'll cost you more than you know. So don't use direct mail leads for final expense telesales. Now, if you're a face-to-face insurance agent and you're like, Jason, I'm transitioning from my face-to-face days and I'm going to be diligent about jumping into the telespace, then that's okay. Use the leads that you have and go ahead and call them. There's nothing wrong with that, but a direct mail lead is really what should be done for a face-to-face play. You should not be putting out money in the telespace. If you're a telesales agent, do not get bit here by buying direct mail leads. It's horrible advice. But if you have direct mail leads already, go ahead and work them. Go ahead and work them. There's good buyer intent, but you can get leads at a third of that cost, and you can actually control the cost. But more importantly, when you're using a lead that's not a direct mail lead, you can control your lead flow. That's going to lead you, hopefully, to the promised land here, because you can have a consistent pipeline of leads that pours in on the weekly. If you want to make the wealth with final expense telesales, when you're a new insurance agent or when you're a veteran insurance agent, you need your pipeline extremely full. You've got to get these leads to populate on the weekly. So you got to be putting consistent lead orders in if you want to be consistently in a place that you can capitalize. Now, back in the day with direct mail leads, I used them for quite some time in final expense telesales, but I am very good at my demographics. I knew how to get returns of around 2.5 to 3% in certain areas. So I could get a very good cost per acquisition. Those days in most counties are not going to be what you're going to experience. You're going to experience pain, very low lead returns. And if you don't have a foundation in this industry, if you don't really understand the right analytics for your direct mail campaigns, you're going to get caught in a rock and a hard place. And I advise even other insurance agencies on how to do their direct mail lead campaigns when they're a face-to-face insurance agency, because I've done this for such a long time. But you're going to get caught. You're going to get hurt. It's going to cost you more than you know if you're using direct mail leads for final expense telesales. Please don't do it. It's really bad advice that costs you a lot. It not only costs you time because you put out money and you're not getting the flow of leads back to you, and then it's going to cost you for every lead that comes in, and then the phone numbers don't work. When you're in the telespace, take it statewide. You have the gift of being able to heladrop and help people in other states. You've got the ability to teleport all over your state, which lowers your lead cost and increases your certainty. And when you increase your ability to be able to touch more people, you can take care of more needs, which is what you need as a final expense telesales insurance agent. So please don't take the bait from some of these face-to-face insurance agencies out there that are telling you to use direct mail leads for telesales. Horrible advice trying to help you. And if you need a good insurance agency where you're like, you know what, I work in an agency that's just a house, it's not a home. If you need an insurance agency that has your best interests at heart, my goodness, reach out at jasonfinalexpense.com. I'll help you in any way I can. But it's very important that you've got good people so you can have the best chance of being a top producer, a top performer, and more importantly, sticking and staying and finding success in this amazing industry. If you want to be a six-figure income earner, selling final expense, Medicare, or even annuities, you've got to be laser-like focused on one monotonous, boring thing. Don't get distracted by all the shiny objects. Don't be that herd of lemmings that lets all these things in your ear, and then you find that you got bad advice, you got beat up, and then you're just like a spinning your tires, not transacting. So if you're a face-to-face insurance agent, please use direct mail. They're great. All right. The lead returns are lower than they have been over the course of the last couple of years, but caustic advice, do not use direct mail leads for final expense telesales. You can learn the easy way or learn the hard way, but I've helped so many insurance agents that have partnered in my national agency here that have gotten this horrible advice from many different face-to-face insurance agencies that are just now, over the last year or two, finding their way in the telespace. Telesales is an art form, but you want to acquire the right leads, so that you can hopefully be a top producer. And if you start working with bad leads, and I'm not saying they're a bad lead, but they're a really costly lead, and it'll cost you time. It's going to cost you an insane amount of money, and it's going to frustrate you. And you may find yourself out of this industry because of some bad advice that you were given. So if you want to get the most out of this industry, don't ever, and I mean ever, buy direct mail leads for final expense telesales. They cost too much, take way too much time, and half the leads don't even come back with phone numbers. Oh, by the way, they don't even have opt-in permission. 90+% of those leads do not. So you can't text them, you can't email them, and that is not a way to increase your engagements. Hope this saves you money. I hope you make it in this time-tested and noble profession. Know that you've got what it takes. And if I can give you any free resources, feel free to reach out at jasonfinalexpense.com. Thanks for joining with me today. And if you've got any topics that you'd like me to take up for you, put them in the comments here, and I'll help you in any way I can. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you, and we'll see y'all soon.